Hey my friends, welcome back to another episode of In My Own Backyard. And in this video, we're talking about things to do in Buffalo, New York. But before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the little bell to be notified of new videos. While in Buffalo, we stayed in the castle-like Richardson Hotel, located on more than 40 acres of beautiful historic green space. The building initially operated as part of the Richardson Olmsted campus and served as the Buffalo State Asylum for the insane in 1880. The property's grounds were designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, best known for designing Central Park in New York City. If you're looking for a contemporary fusion of classic brasserie with modern flavors, the Streetlight Brasserie may be worth adding to your itinerary. They have a fun, upscale menu that adapts throughout the year to highlight seasonal ingredients in a unique and delicious way. One of the fun activities for adults in Buffalo, New York that we discovered is the nightcap sale aboard the Spirit of Buffalo. Held daily at 8:30 p.m., this 1.5 hour sale will allow you to enjoy the spectacular view of the evening skies on Lake Erie with a nightcap beverage in your hand. Yes, nightcap as in drink, not whatever it is that you was thinking. Anyways, that is a great way to start the afternoon and end the evening here in Buffalo. Good morning. Quick breakfast at the Richardson Hotel's cafe. Then for day one, we are heading to the market to meet my boy Drew Brown from Visit Buffalo Niagara. He'll be my wingman this weekend, and they couldn't have sent a better person to represent their city. Located on Bidwell Parkway and Elmwood Avenue, the Elmwood Village Farmers Market is the perfect place to find a wide selection of local vendors selling fresh produce, fruits, baked goods, and more. While there, we tried the Pop-Tarts from Butterblock. They have a location in town and a pop-up shop here at the market. If you have an opportunity to try them, trust me, they are delicious. The next stop is the AKG Museum to speak with an AKG board member, Roscoe.
Well, the thing is, art, wherever you travel in the world, one place you should always go to is a museum or a gallery. And the fact is that Buffalo has one of the best contemporary art collections in the world. And what better place to see art than at the AKG and have a nice meal in Buffalo and some wine afterwards. That's what I would suggest.
What you making there?
It started it for me.
I've served on various boards of other art institutions or something to deal with education. And before I came here, I was on it's called SEPA, Center for Exploratory Perceptual Arts. It's one of the only artist-run digital photography galleries in the country, which is located in Buffalo. And I was working with BCAT, Buffalo Center for Arts and Technology. You see how art is the key word there. So I had someone ask me, would you be interested in being on the board here? I have jumped into it. I have, we have artist trips that we've taken to like Russia and different parts of the world. And my thing is being a connector. So I want to give other people in my community, and when I say that, I mean people of color, black kids, exposure to the arts, because I grew up on the East Side, and there's not always a lot of opportunities, but art has always been able to provide an opportunity for me, and that's what I try to do here. Sure. And then it's not just the arts. I do arts with people with disabilities. If there's an organization, veterans, the blind, people with mental health issues, I somehow try to bring them all together And folks that haven't had past relationships with the institution, I kind of nurture and kind of bring them closer together. That's what I've been doing. Right? This space is Common Sky, and this part of the gallery is going to be open to the public forever. So the fact is that we can bring different organization, groups, and things, and this is going to be like our focal point. Common Sky, we're all in it together. Because when you're an artist, you're not a black artist or a white artist, you're an artist, and that's the way you should look at it.
Okay, so this mirror exhibit is like the coolest thing I've ever did. Just had to point that out. Anyways, the Buffalo AKG Art Museum is one of the oldest public art museums in the United States. It was founded in 1862 as the Buffalo Fine Arts Academy and continues adding to its remarkable collection. Speaking of which, we've been super lucky to get a sneak peek of the newest section of the museum. That said, this entire area is chock full of culture, from the art galleries and museums to the lakes and nature of Delaware Park. It's really beautiful here. Now, in the article linked in the description, we talked about the history of the buffalo wing, but where should you go to enjoy these iconic wings? Well, this staple restaurant in historic Allentown, known as The Gate or Gabe's by the locals, is one such place. Not sure if the locals will appreciate me sharing this, but you'll have your choice of a wide variety of chicken wing flavors, including their well-known and loved buffalo wings. The wings at Gabriel's Gate are always consistent and delicious, plus it's a part of the Buffalo Wing Trail. In addition, I also learned how to deal with the tips. All you need to do is firmly push down on them to fan them out like an umbrella, then bite the whole top off. Okay, with our bellies full, we head off to the Queen City Jazz Festival.
We started in 2004 with a dream of having live jazz here. And here we are in 2023 giving, you guys getting a chance to hear one of the best here in Buffalo, Lafayette Square, right? Here we are. So I want to talk a little bit about the history of this club and two men as instrumental in keeping this club alive, and that is Danny Williams and George Scott. Give them a big round of applause, please.
But now it is time to hear what you're here for. Spiral Child, give it up!
Before we chat with George from the Colored Musicians Club and Jazz Museum, it's important to note that at the time of this recording, the museum is undergoing a $2.95 billion renovation, so you absolutely have to stay tuned for that when they reopen. However, one of the most popular events hosted by the Colored Musicians Club and Jazz Museum is the Queen City Jazz Festival. Held every year on the last weekend in July, the festival is free and open daily to the public from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is a perfect opportunity for the whole family to enjoy live music and celebrate the art and history of jazz.
So how did the whole Color Music Club, how did that start? What was the purpose of it?
Well, it actually goes all the way back to the early 1900s, with segregation and stuff. And more in particular, the fact that live music was entertainment. You didn't have TV back then.
Right.
Radio was, and definitely no internet. So, people would go to clubs, nightclubs and things like that for music. And the unions back then was very strong. So if you didn't have a union card, you couldn't play a lot of those places.
Wow. Right.
And again, if you were black, it was even harder because they didn't allow you in those locals.
Right.
So it wasn't until 1917 that the musicians here of color would finally have their own union, and it would be known as Local 533. And just an interesting point about the 533, they knew what was a black union over white union, because black unions had 3 numbers, white locals had 2. So even if you called like out to LA or something, they would ask you what local. And if it was more than 2 numbers, it's, oh, okay, I know what you know. But, so in 1917 they start that, and about the first 18 years or so, even though they called themselves they had the Colored Musicians Club, but they didn't have a permanent home. Not until 1934, when they were able to acquire 145 Broadway. And from that point on, now they had not only a place for the union to meet and, talk, but they also had a club upstairs. Because the other part of the coin was they would get to play these swank white clubs, but they weren't allowed to stay afterwards. So let's say, you're a top musician, you packed house, and now, people want to give you drinks, meal, but they weren't allowed to do it, and you weren't allowed to stay. So that usually, up until we had the club, they just had to go somewhere else, home mostly. But now they had a spot to go to afterwards. And here, it was even a better reason, because when these famous musicians got done, they came to that club, they would eat, have a drink, but more importantly, they liked the music, they would join in on the jam session. And this was how a lot of our local musicians got heard and got to tour with many of these famous people. And then as time went by, many of them became famous in their own way. But the other thing that was even more important about this union was the fact that the community mindedness of this local, they did a lot for the community. They had set up a credit union. So really, for the first time, the people in the community had a bank. Because you couldn't go to a regular bank.
Right.
So we had that going.
So you had your own credit.
Yeah. They set up an insurance with life benefits in there. So now they can have a decent burial, Nice. So it's stuff like that, These flies are pretty bad here. But
I need my microphone in just 1 second.
One of the things that sets this here restaurant apart is its impressive gin list, with options from all over the world, including selections from France, Germany, Canada, Ireland, the United Kingdom, Mexico, and South Africa. Graylynn combines a classic menu with a modern and contemporary ambiance for a unique experience, and it's the perfect place to end the night. Good morning. When selecting a breakfast spot, finding a location specializing in premium and exotic coffees is always a win. This cafe is located just blocks away from their roasting operations, providing them with the freshest coffee selections. Okay, next stop, the Frank Lloyd Wright's Martin House.
History of the house, why it was selected here. The Martin family had selected a piece of property in another area of Buffalo where a lot of the millionaires at the time were building their homes. They were living on Summit, which is the street that's just adjacent to us here. And Mr. Wright came to talk to Mr. Martin about building the home. Saw this vacant 1.5 acre portion of property and suggested that he build here, so Mr. Martin went ahead and did it. This was really suburban Buffalo at the time. It was not really part of the city proper until a little bit later when it was annexed. But they built the house. Basically, it took 2 years for the main house to be completed, which would include the pergola, conservatory, and carriage house. The house was built and the family would live here, Mr. Martin until 1935. Mrs. Martin lived here another 2 years. And basically, when they moved in, extremely wealthy individuals. He had, Buffalo was an extremely wealthy city, a city that had more wealth per capita than any other city in the United States. At the time of his death, Mr. Martin was pretty much penniless.
Oh, wow.
He lost money through the stock market crash. He lost money. He was very philanthropic. He didn't really lose it, but he gave a lot of money away, supported extended family members to get college education. So we ultimately were able to raise $51 million, which afforded us the opportunity to not only maintain and refurbish the main house and the Barton house, but to rebuild pergola, conservatory, and carriage house.
Yeah.
So it's been quite the...
Quite a ride.
Yeah.
All right, for lunch, I'm meeting up with Drew for tacos. The Breezy Burrito Bar is the place to go when you just want a delicious taco. Their menu boasts an array of delicious signature entrees such as chimichangas, quesadillas, enchiladas, and their award-winning dry rub rings that are sure to make your mouth water. They also offer a wide selection of appetizers like chips and salsa, cheese dip, jalapeno poppers, and potato skins. If you're looking for something free to do in Buffalo, all while keeping up with the Joneses, is Garden Walk Buffalo. Garden Walk Buffalo is a self-guided tour with more than 300 gardeners around the city, making it the largest garden tour in the U.S. In addition to its impressive size, the garden tour offers a look at the quirky, quote-unquote, Buffalo style of gardening. Rather than landscaping by the book, Buffalo gardeners embrace their unique personality when bringing their garden spaces to life. In fact, this gardening style can be traced back to rough economic times in the city. Finances were tight, and residents didn't have the funds to spend on the aesthetic appearance of their homes and other buildings. Instead, they discovered they could tap into their creativity and use gardening to beautify their space on a budget. One of my favorite spots to enjoy dinner, drinks, and live jazz music, Duende, which embodies the soul of Buffalo, is located in Silo City, a new area where they are repurposing old, unused grain silos to bring new life and opportunities. And for dinner, we hit up another spot on the Buffalo Wing Trail, Gene McCarthy's. They offer a selection of pub-style favorites, including fish and chips, and of course, chicken wings and buffalo logs. It's in a part of town called First Ward, or Old First Ward, which is predominantly Irish. In addition, it is also the site of the Old First Ward Brewing Company, one of the 50-plus local breweries. Now, before we call it a night, Drew and I went around to discover some of Buffalo's cool architecture, like the Guaranty building and Interpretive Center. This early skyscraper, built between 1895 and 1896, features a complete terracotta exterior, giving it a breathtaking appearance. And over here we have Hotel at the Lafayette, which was designed by Louise Blanchard Bethune, the first official female architect in the United States. And this, my friends, is a perfect place to end the night. Good morning. Before heading back to Toronto, I need to make one last stop here at 5 Points Bakery for some road trip breakfast food. And that's it for this video. Head over to roadtripontario.ca for a detailed blog post. The link is in the description. Big shout outs to Drew Brown from Visit Buffalo Niagara for hanging out with me this weekend and showing me your awesome city. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.
Well, read between the lines.